I now recognize Representative Cheney for an opening statement.
Thank you very much, Chairman Thompson. Thank you to all my colleagues on this committee, and thank you to each of the witnesses appearing before us today. It is because of you. You held the line. You defended all of us. You defended the Capitol, and you defended the Constitution and our republic. And every American owes you our undying gratitude.
My, oh my, how the mighty have fallen. The now disgraced former Congresswoman Liz Cheney is about to come under federal criminal investigation for her corrupt handling of the J6 Kangaroo Committee. The new golden age just keeps getting better and better. We're going to take a look at the latest House investigative report that's now openly recommending a criminal probe into the antics of Liz Cheney, what it means for the J6 defendants, and the future of our nation going forward. Hey, gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your Patriot Professor, here to celebrate that dawning of this new golden age that you made possible on November the 5th. So if you want to stay informed on all the latest happenings and the rise of a new conservative age, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Also, do you ever wonder how people like Nancy Pelosi seem to know exactly when to buy certain stocks? How politicians seem to have secret knowledge of what's going to do well in the market? Well, it's all insider trading. Pelosi and her cronies have been getting away with it for years. But guess what? You and I actually have access to that very same inside information. Thanks to a little-known SEC loophole, we can track what the big corporate CEOs are buying up in real time, and then we just get to ride their coattails into financial success legally and ethically. Once you learn this secret of the trade, you're in. To do that, you've got to join me with my good friend and trading expert Ross Givens this Thursday, December 19th, 3 p.m. Eastern. Ross is the real deal. His insider tips have led to returns of over 200%. Some have hit as nearly high as 1,500%. This could be absolutely huge. But seating is limited. Click the link below. Snag one of the remaining seats. This is going to change your life, gang. You can't afford to miss it. Click on that link below right now. It is now official. After a thorough investigation, a House committee has recommended that Liz Cheney face a criminal investigation related to witness tampering as vice chair of the illegally established and now defunct Select Committee on January 6. We now know that Liz Cheney was indeed in secret communications with their star witness, Cassidy Hutchinson. We actually have the text messages shared between Cheney and Hutchinson, where Cheney coached her on what to say before her testimony. She reportedly went so far as to actually get Hutchinson to change her testimony in these communications, bypass Hutchinson's lawyers. In other words, Cheney coached the star witness of the J6 committee. I mean, if it just doesn't get more crooked and corrupt than that. Allegedly, of course. But that is the very definition, if it turns out to be the case, of witness tampering. But it's all par for the course for that ridiculous kangaroo committee as a whole that consistently and deliberately hid evidence that would have exonerated President Trump, such as his request for 10,000 National Guard troops to protect the Capitol building. That little detail would, after all, have destroyed their whole case against President Trump. I mean, the call for 10,000 National Guard troops to guard the Capitol does not lend itself to the notion that Trump was trying to incite an insurrection. Now, what I love about what's happening here is that it represents an ironic and indeed just inversion of what we've been seeing over these last near 4 years. Ever since J6, it's been patriots who have been prosecuted and Washington elites celebrated and exonerated. Now the tables have completely turned. It's the elites, indeed in the entire J6 committee, but particularly Cheney, who are being recommended for prosecution. All the while, every single J6 prisoner is about to be pardoned and released on day one of Trump's new term. In biblical terms, those who were exalted are about to be humbled. Those who were humbled are about to be exalted. The first are being placed last, and the last first. This is the ironic inversion that's playing out right before our very eyes, precisely because of what you did on November the 5th. Another irony is that Liz Cheney, back in 2021, was actually touted by our media elite as the future of the Republican Party, if you can believe it. She was the one who was rising up to wrench the party away from Trump's populist spell, as it were, and restore the party to its neocon roots, which, of course, the media would have been ecstatic with, since the Republicans would never, ever win another national election, given that the old neocon Bush coalition is dead. And frankly, even when it was alive, this coalition barely won the Electoral College. When Bush won the popular vote back in 2004, he only won 286 electoral votes. It was an incredibly tenuous, weak coalition that unraveled just 4 years later, of course, and back in 2008. But regardless, the irony here is that the very person the legacy media was touting as the future of the Republican Party has in fact become its biggest loser. Cheney lost her Republican primary back in 2022 by margins we've simply never seen before. And that segues perfectly into the final irony in all this, and that's how Trump actually ended up becoming all the stronger and more powerful as a result of J6. Back in June of 2021, there was a wonderful article by Brian Cates over at the Epoch Times entitled "The Return of Donald J. Trump." And this came out even before they assembled the pathetic J6 committee. And it summarized so well the media's utter despair and frustration over Trump. Listen to this, quote, "Right now, Donald J. Trump's opponents can't quite believe what they're seeing. Just a few short months ago, the swamp denizens of Washington were breathing sighs of relief. They had done it. They had defeated the awful Trump, handed the White House to Joe Biden, and could now begin implementing all their cherished plans for a post-Trump America. And then an amazing thing happened. A twice impeached former president who had supposedly incited an insurrection at the Capitol building on January 6th has returned, and he's looking stronger than ever." This was not in the script that had been so carefully written. The former President Trump is supposed to be a historical footnote at this point. He's supposed to be utterly destroyed, completely irrelevant, so radioactive nobody would go near him. But not only is Trump not sulking in private in utter disgrace, he is now exerting more direct control over the GOP than he ever did when he was in the White House, close quote. And what this Brian Cates, and by the way, kudos to Brian. I mean, he definitely saw what was really happening there. An excellent analysis of the reality of what was happening. What this Brian Cates article actually did is that it anticipated a number of articles that would come out later, right around the 1-year anniversary of J6, that openly admitted that J6 actually ended up making Trump stronger, not weaker. The ultra-left site Salon.com published this headline on the first anniversary of J6. "Trump's coup failed, but January 6th was a success." And the byline reads, "The Capitol riot may have failed, but Trump finished his fascist takeover of the GOP." Now, despite the obvious hyperbolic, ridiculous vocabulary, which is beyond absurd, the article did recognize that J6 did in fact contribute inordinately to Trump taking over the Republican Party and successfully transforming the GOP from a globalist, neocon, Romney-like party to a working-class-based populist party, precisely because his popularity actually ended up increasing among Republicans after J6. J6 actually embodied for the MAGA faithful the escalating face-off between we the people versus this corrupt permanent political class. This is why I think polls were so supportive of Trump after January 6th. For many patriots, January 6th really embodied a struggle, a radically frustrating struggle between the concerns of the people and the obtuse deafness and dismissiveness of the permanent political class. The fact that Trump called for peace, he clearly called for the protests to be peaceful before they went to the Capitol building. He even called for peace then after the riots broke out. The fact that he called for peace while at the same time never backing down from both his support of the January 6th protesters as well as his original claims about November 3rd permanently enshrined Trump as the bona fide champion of the people, someone who's going to fight on behalf of patriots and who will never, despite all the pressure pushed on him by the establishment, he would never, ever back down like Mike Pence did. Mike Pence folded like a house of cards. In that sense, January 6th, in many respects, was Trump's true test for so many patriots across the country. And he passed spectacularly. It secured Trump's takeover of the GOP as the true leader of the people who will never waver. Those who felt so disaffected and marginalized from the elites in Washington, D.C. found their champion. And to their credit, there were a number of leftists who recognized that J6 permanently enshrined Trump's leadership over the GOP and ended up being an indispensable precursor to his massive, historic landslide win in November. The likes of Liz Cheney simply never understood that. And now that lack of discernment and the antics that followed from it on that committee look to be her ultimate undoing.